photo featuring Senator Kyrsten Sinema has gone viral. Not only does it point to her quirky sense of humor and her unique sense of style, but she's wearing in that photo a ring that has a very specific message on it. As Melanie Zanona writes on Twitter, Kyrsten Sinema, the Senate's most colorful member, posts a pic of herself on Instagram rocking an F-off ring and sipping what looks like sangria. Oh, how cute. Now, look, we don't know for sure whether or not the ring is meant to signal any type of message to any specific group of people, but progressives saw this as Sinema essentially sending a message to any opponents who criticized her for voting down a $15 an hour minimum wage. I'm sure many of you guys can remember that moment. Let's take a look at what that was like.
Miss Sinema, no.
Right, so Cenk already has a comment on this. Go
ahead. I do. So listen, we're gonna do a poll on it at tyt.com/polls on whether she meant it or not. Do I think that it's necessarily something about $15 minimum wage? No, I don't think it's that specific. That's my guess, right? But is it meant as a political message? That's the question we're gonna ask you guys, but my jury's in on it. Yeah. She's a United States senator, and so she's not going to have an F-off ring on accidentally. She didn't match those glasses and that hat accidentally. She didn't put that on Instagram accidentally. No, that's a message. Now, I'd like to note for the record, as Anna's about to explain to you in detail, that pretty sure she didn't wear that ring when she went to go see her corporate donors. She wouldn't say that to them. But would she say it to you since you're the voters? Oh, hell yeah, she just did.
Now, before I get to the details about her corporate donors, what I want you guys to take away from this story is how little she cares. She really doesn't care. She doesn't care about the backlash she received after she voted against a $15 an hour minimum wage on the Senate floor. She doesn't care about what the potential ramifications or consequences could be, because to be quite honest with you, she's not expecting consequences. And given how lawmakers have behaved, not just in like the last election cycle, not just in the last 5 years, but for a while now, it's clear that there won't be consequences, because when you gotta choose between corporate donors or doing right by your base or right by your voters or right by your constituents, the majority of whom want a $15 an hour minimum wage in the state of Arizona, she's gonna go with their corporate donors. Okay, so let me give you these details. This was reported by David Sirota's outlet known as the Daily Poster. They also post over at Jacobin, and they write that Senators Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin will headline the national conference of the restaurant lobbying group, the National Restaurant Association, that led the battle to block the wage increase, and that is fighting a separate Democratic measure to make it easier for workers to form unions, meaning the PRO Act. Now, there's been a lot of attention on Senator Joe Manchin and how he did pay lip service to constituents who do want to pass the PRO Act, but it's good. It's good that the DSA is organizing and phone banking is applying enough pressure to get someone like Manchin to at least say that he'll co-sponsor the PRO Act. But I also want to be clear that whatever members of the Senate say right now, you still have that legislative filibuster in place. So I have this feeling, and I think it's with good reason, that Manchin just wants the DSA and progressives off his back, and he's like, whatever, it's not gonna pass in the Senate anyway, sure, I'll co-sponsor it. Unless he's willing to get rid of that filibuster, or in the very least, reform the filibuster, it doesn't matter what he says he's gonna co-sponsor. That doesn't mean we don't continue applying pressure, but understand that a lot of the pressure needs to be focused on getting rid of the filibuster or reforming it to actually pave the way to get, laws or bills like the PRO Act passed.
Yeah, so first of all, the other part of the theatrics of Kyrsten Sinema is that she wants to do what we've talked a lot about on the show, which is change on the outside, continuity on the inside, right? And so she does these theatrics, the theatrical way that she voted down minimum wage, the theater of that particular picture on Instagram. And by the way, let's note for the record, the irony or perhaps the appropriateness of a senator named Sinema obsessed with theatrics. So now, when they go to meet with the Restaurant Association, and then they immediately get checks from people from the Restaurant Association. And the Restaurant Association is not only against the PRO Act, I think the PRO Act is a little bit more complicated, but clearly billion% against $15 minimum wage. And then coincidentally, Manchin and Sinema will vote against the minimum wage and make a big show of voting against it, Manchin proudly brags about killing things like that. Sinema did the hip swirl as she voted against it. Then she sends a message to you guys saying, F off, you guys aren't important to me at all. She would never dare wear that ring when she goes to meet with the Restaurant Association, okay? And that boy should be like, oh, please, please. Now, there's not a single reporter in the country, apparently, among the national media. David Sirota covers this, he does a great job. Washington Post, New York Times, do you guys exist? Do you think that maybe the corporate donations they get from the Restaurant Association and the Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable, et cetera, might be relevant to their vote on the minimum wage, might be relevant to their vote on the PRO Act? Yet you never put that in any of the articles. The national media is embarrassing, embarrassing, okay? So, and the reason why Kyrsten Sinema can tell her own voters to F off is because she knows you said no consequences. Why no consequences, Anna? Because the media sucks.
So the media would report it. I mean, it's not like this is a secret. Yeah, they're corrupt, they're all corrupt, and then what? Like that's my point. And then what? And then what? And then what?
No, but Anna, okay.
And then what?
No, I would love to get the and then what, and I will tell you then what. So right now, the media reports Manchin and Sinema as moderates and centrists, which makes them look reasonable. Oh, they're between the Republicans and the Democrats, which makes them look reasonable. If they kept talking about, oh, they voted against minimum wage, and here are the corporate donors that agreed with that policy, and here's the checks that they sent to Manchin and Sinema, right? Well, that would get through to people. We are in news. We have it up to here with political information, okay? So we all know how corrupt Manchin and Sinema are. Do you think people in their state know? No, especially among Democratic voters. Republican voters know about corruption and they've gone to crazy conspiracy theories to fight it, but at least they're aware of it. When you go talk to Democratic voters, they're like, no, I read the New York Times and I listen to NPR. All of our Democratic senators are angels sent from above. And the ones that are the most right wing are the most moderate and centrist and reasonable. That's what the New York Times and Washington Post tell me, so it must be true.
I think one of the mistakes you make though is assuming that Democratic voters, and I'm not talking about potential Democratic voters or working people who actually don't vote at all because they don't think that lawmakers are gonna do anything for them. Most Democratic voters at this point represent the managerial class. These are people who are college educated. These are people who are well-to-do. These are people who are not concerned about a $15 an hour minimum wage to the extent that we are. And that's also a problem. Yes,
so that's a big chunk of the Democratic voters, I agree, but that is not, I would be shocked if that was the majority. But look, guys, what does the Democratic Party stand for? If it turns out we stand for the management class, well, then we're gonna flip, we're gonna lose all of our advantages, and we're gonna win no elections going forward. So look, Anna, but the bottom line is the rest of the electorate does not know what we know and what our viewers know, because we cover it every day, right? But the rest of the media, in their absolute protection of the corporate Democrats in the Senate and the House, aids and abets their corruption. So like last example here, Ted Cruz, when he went to Cancun, everybody covered it wall to wall. Oh, look at the hypocrisy, et cetera. If they gave that same coverage to Manchin's donors or Sinema's donors, their approval ratings would plummet like Cruz's did. And then all of a sudden, then they'd be like, oh, no, like Cruz did. All of a sudden, tough guy Cruz, right? Apologetic, I didn't mean to go to Cancun, I was doing it for the kids, but I didn't mean it, et cetera, right? And then all of a sudden, Manchin and Sinema are dancing into a different tune. But it's like the cops. There's no consequences, there's no accountability. So they get to do whatever they want because the media will not report on their corruption at all costs. If people knew how corrupt they were, their poll numbers would be disastrous. And then they'd turn around and have rings of, oh, I love you, I'm sorry, I meant $18 minimum wage. So I guarantee it, that's definitely how politics is. Anyway, one last thing. Look, guys, I'm gonna gratuitously say, I don't love the PRO Act here. There's parts of the PRO Act I don't agree with. But whether I agree with it or not, when somebody like Mark Warner, and to add to the list of people who are against the PRO Act, says that he doesn't agree with certain provisions, even me agreeing with some of what he's saying policy-wise goes, I don't believe you. Why? After Warner goes and does some of the things that he does in favor of corporate America, like Amazon sends them huge checks, right? And after all the Amazon executives send him checks, I no longer believe a word he says. I don't know that it's based on principle or that they bribed him. And yes, Mark Warner, I don't care about your feelings. When you take tens of thousands of dollars from Amazon executives right after a vote, even if you're not the most corrupt man in America, you look like the most corrupt man in America. So either change the system or don't cry about us calling you corrupt, because these look like obvious bribes. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.